without space or space without solid. When you wake up to this and realize that the more it changes, the more it's the same thing, as the French say, that you are really a playing of this one energy, and there is nothing else but that it is you, but that for you to be always you would be an insufferable bore. And therefore, it is arranged that you stop being you after a while, and then come back as someone else altogether.
Well, you see this whole thing with like the human game, or kind of like treating your conscious existence or experience as kind of like a game, is really to help you take your power back. You know, we're all definitely way more powerful than we know. We can change world events, we can completely morph and change our reality, because reality is not as, you know, static and, you know, fixed as we once thought. And I think that a lot of us are coming into the knowing that, you know, we really are kind of on this new way of treating reality with, you know, how we experience. So and what's been coming up too is like 100%, taking 100% responsibility for, and that's what comes with being a creator. You know, whatever is coming into your field, really you're responsible for, and it's always a gift, whatever it is. You know, it's there to deliver you a message, it's there to set something in motion on your journey, or to reflect back something to you that you need to reclaim your power from.
Among the many lessons those of us watching at home have learned this week, probably not a good idea to humiliate your FBI director on his way out. He will get you in the end, as indeed James Comey just has, leaking the contents of a memo he wrote back in February that alleged President Trump encouraged him to drop the investigation into former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn. In other words, to obstruct justice. The White House says this did not happen. It's the biggest story in the world right now.
So, you know, by experiencing in this way, you're able to, you know, become an active participant or an active creator in this experience, rather than just, you know, being at the whim of you know, whatever is going on in the reality dictated to you by NBC and ABC and, you know, all these fear tactics, which, you know, are really kind of silly when you're sitting from where I'm at, you know, because it's just an opportunity to reclaim the power from the collective consciousness, or the, you know, whatever connects all of us. You know, there's a field that connects all of us. We're all connected. And when we can heal something like, say, for example, I'm able to heal something, you know, from the collective. So if something comes into my field, for example, this happened to me today, of somebody who was like talking about Trump and, oh, all these things are going to happen with North Korea and war and nuclear and blah, blah, blah. You know, what I know about it now, it's like, that was an opportunity for me to reclaim any fear that I had, you know, because I don't believe that this reality is fixed, and I feel that I can actually change that. So can you. We're all experiencing reality a little bit differently based on where we're putting our power.
This debate furiously went back and forth up through the 80s and into the 90s, when people finally began to articulate this new principle, this holographic principle. And what it said is that all the things that were falling inside a black hole were somehow captured in a preserved image at the horizon itself.
So if the information is not lost, on the surface, the information is not lost inside because they are equivalent.
All the information about those objects, what they were like in their three-dimensional existence, was preserved or encoded on the surface of the black hole. And that's a little bit like a hologram.
Well, that suggests that maybe that idea may apply more broadly to the universe as a whole. Maybe the three-dimensional objects, us, everything in the world around us, maybe all of the information in these objects is carried, is smeared around a distant two-dimensional surface that surrounds us, and we're just in some sense a holographic projection of that distant data.
The holographic principle tells us something quite astonishing. It says that our ideas of volume, of the real world in a sense, might be a kind of illusion.
So, you know, over the past couple of weeks since we started this human game, which again is just doing what we feel joy about and inspiration, and no longer, you know, coming from motives of scarcity or not having enough, or, you know, fear and obligation, or, you know, what's expected of us, but coming from a place that literally is like opening the space to receive inspiration and then act on that. So really coming from a much more like receptive point of view. And we've really kind of started to see a lot that's coming into our field, because as soon as you take on this responsibility, you take the responsibility, a lot of things are going to come up in your hologram, which the hologram, again, is like, it's kind of like the collective dream or your reality, whatever is being projected from you. That's what we're calling the hologram. And we are going to do a few, like a video series about a lot of the terms that we use to clarify them, as there are a lot of different people using a lot of different terms, and you know, like the collective consciousness or hologram or whatever it is. We want to clarify that. But yeah, hologram in this sense is basically what I would define it as is the current energy that's in the current fractal line that you're in, which changes with every decision, with every you know, intention or thought or decision, whatever you're going to do with this vehicle. This is a vehicle for like transmitting and receiving energy, and when you do that, you are aligning with different holograms, or different, what they call timelines, which again, a timeline is like an opening of the fractal line for that specific energy, which is constantly changing. And if you don't know what a fractal is, I mean, I think most people probably do, but you know, basically we can look at the microcosm and see a reflection, or, you know, pretty similar, almost identical in the macro, and that's kind of how astrology and the I Ching and all these different systems work, is because they're reading the fractal energy of what's taking place in the moment. So, you know, we work with those systems as well to help us to reclaim the power, because you know where you're at, you know which, you know, situation that you're in, and you kind of know what energies are going to pop up. To do some more extensive and elaborative videos on this, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about what we've decided we're going to do with our human game, like how we're going to play it. So again, you know, you only do things that, or we're only doing things that bring us joy and inspiration. And with that, we have to be on like receive mode.
This is what it is, okay? I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
So we're not going out and like trying to find or having these like huge goals or agendas, or we're literally just gonna see like what pops into our field. And it's only been like I don't know, 2 weeks, and you know, some pretty amazing connections have come through, amazing information that's, you know, more pieces to this puzzle, and it's going really well. Also, you know, just really focusing and paying attention to any feelings that come up. So a lot of like emotional intimacy, just knowing and being able to identify and learning more about like our emotions and like maybe like what's really under that, so that we can reclaim the power or clear or do the cleaning, you know, of that energy. That's because all that's happening when we have these emotions, whether they're negative or like, you know, somebody did something to us or we're feeling victimized, because that's when we're giving our power away. We're going, we're not a creator, somebody's doing something to me. You know, whenever that's happening, which is pretty frequent, you know, that's an indicator that we need to readjust our angle of how we're entering into the energetic signature of our hologram. Because if we're over here going, oh, we're a victim, we're not like in this position where, you know, we're really being the creator. So we're paying attention to and taking 100% responsibility for these feelings that we have. Because a lot of it is garbage, you know, a lot of it is junk that, you know, is programming and conditioning and all of this. We also believe that everybody, all the beings, you know, ourselves, everybody is perfect, that we need to have like radical, you know, self-acceptance, because it's not ourselves that are the problem. It's really this junk, garbage, data, programming, conditioning, the mind. There's so many words for this that's like out of alignment with consciousness, right? So this process really is about remembering who you really are, which is this infinite creator that you know, has a lot of love and joy, and you know, this is like a game, so it's fun. You know, we forgot everything about who we were, and now we're kind of coming into this state where we're like, oh wait, like I don't need to be a victim. Nobody's victimizing me. Nothing is victimizing me. Nothing in the world, you know. And taking 100% responsibility.
There are tragedies in our lives because we don't take a look at where the origin of the problem is, and it's always in self. So the tragedy being in life is that we're clueless and we repeat the same thing over and over and over again. And so when I work at Hawaii, for example, when I worked at Hawaii State Hospital, working with people killed, raped, and murdered people, I had to ask the question, what is going on in me that I'm experiencing this? I'm experiencing a patient being violent, I'm experiencing staff going crazy, and that sort of stuff. And so having to take 100% responsibility for that. What's going on in me that I'm creating this experience? And so I just do this cleaning, and the cleaning, the Ho'oponopono is about going into the self, and specifically into the subconscious, and where the data is, and since everything is run by information, so the information in my subconscious is dictating to me what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing. It's like in Shakespeare's Tempest, where Miranda says, oh, woe is me, to see what I see. So Miranda has this insight that she's only seeing with data. And so it is with me, and so it is with all of you. And so I just work on the data in me that I experience as, quotes, the other person.
So these are a few of the tools or parameters that Tom and I are putting on our human game experience. And it really changes, again, like I said, the angle from which you sit. A lot of people talk about sacred geometry and reality and perspectives, the angles. If you're coming from these other sides and not being centered and in alignment with the energy that's taking place in your fractal, in your hologram, in your dream, then you're of course going to be out of alignment. You're going to feel victimized. You're going to feel powerless, and eventually, you're just going to be so weak and tired, and it kind of gets stuck in the sludge. So we can adjust it, bring ourselves into this angle, and really reclaim our power and change anything we want, really. Even health issues or traumas, past traumas, because all of this, again, it's all stories that we've kind of put into a loop. It's like humanity, the majority of humanity has been on this PTSD loop, where it's a PTSD is where it's a trauma, and you loop back, and you're and then every time you go to where you could have maybe healed it, it loops back again, because it's something you can't comprehend. You can't even it, or it's too scary or hard to look at, so then you start to loop over. And this is kind of a metaphor, but really also what's happened with humanity is this PTSD loop of feeling separate from source, which is feeling separated from your own self, your own highest self, your source. So this is a way to heal it, is to be courageous and take 100% responsibility, and not allowing anyone to put you in a path of being a victim, and it's hard. I was in this state of mind earlier this year, and I was seeing everybody as a reflection, and the reality was speaking to me, which meaning I took everything as a sign, everything was a meaning, and there was, I was really deep into that. But then I got tested, and myself tested myself, with this initiation of being in a situation where I really, really felt victimized, and fell into it, and at that point I was maybe I was spiritually bypassing, and there is kind of a line, sometimes the energy, whatever's coming forth, and this is why, if you're not familiar, but you would need to look into nonviolent communication, emotional intimacy, knowing your emotions so that you can communicate in a right way when there's something in your field that comes up, which again is a reflection of yourself, but to be able to communicate back to it in a way that's ordering and healing the energy, not in a way where it's all of a sudden there's a polarity, which is what the mind creates, where it's oh, that person's against me, and oh, I'm a victim, or I need to get them, or whatever it is. We need to address the energy when it comes up, because again, we're reaffirming to our highest self of this reflection that's coming up to us that we are healed from it, and that we can process and set free the energy so that we can move forward. But yeah, I was kind of in a situation earlier this year where I was I really felt victimized, and I was taking everything in, but the part that I was missing was not communicating fully, or not clearly enough, and because sometimes the energy does call for us to hold our integrity. Now, integrity is not just your values, it's not just oh, I always mean what I say, and impeccability and things like that. It's also the integrity of a building. It's the integrity of the structure, which again, this is our structure, our vehicle. And it's about holding your space, because yeah, there are gonna be sometimes energies that test you to see where you're at. Can you still stand up as a creator? Because even if you stand up and you're saying to these energies that are coming around you, these reflections, and you're communicating in an effective way, they may still try to come at you. in a way for you to clear and all of these things, but the integrity of your vehicle means that you can hold your space, you know, and that means not overpowering them or not falling over yourself.
Some of the first things I noticed coming up since the last episode were basically, I noticed as we shared the information that there seemed to be a few instances coming up of people basically becoming kind of confrontational almost about the information. So I took that as basically aspects of myself that still maybe weren't in full belief and alignment of what we're figuring out. And so of course we do the process with that and liberate those pieces of energy. And then from there, what I was noticing is the more and more I'm doing this work, taking the responsibility for this energy and returning the power by bringing it back in, that these new avenues and new things were opening up for us. This is like essentially like new timelines that are becoming available as we would bring energy,
you know, we need to
back within as
this is all about
creating
getting back to your authentic,
everything that I'm
true, highest
experiencing.
self, and really accepting who you are, which is like this amazing infinite creator. We all are this infinite creator that's all powerful, and we just have to remember and really start accessing that. You know, and I feel like this is kind of the pivotal turning point of our, you know, conscious evolution. You know, and a lot of people too talk about timelines or like the timeline split. I want to explain that a little bit because right now we're at, you know, a turning point or the cross. Tom and I have talked about the juxtaposition of the realities. Basically what that means is that there's the energy of like existence, what's going on, and then there's like the mind or the personality or the data or the junk or whatever, and they're actually two different time frames. This one is actually a little bit faster. In human design, it would be 88 days faster. So as we've gone throughout history, when we were in alignment and then we started to enter into different angles, you notice how there's different angles, and now we're at the cross. You know, we've kind of, we're at this point where like, okay, are we going to realign with the form, which is the energy that like wants to express and is through harmony, or are we going to go the total opposite way and, you know, use, you know, technology, like going against, trying to override the energy. There's nothing wrong with technology except for if it's used to like override like what's naturally trying to happen, or if it's causing destruction, you know, and it's not something that, you know, if you're going to get a chip in your head to give you superpowers, but yeah, you could have accessed that yourself if you would have healed yourself. You know, if you're using the technology to override doing the work, you know, you're going on this other end, and that's like the timeline split. Like some angles are going to come back with the form. Some angles are going to then come back with or go to the technology / like bionic chips in the head, and that's why you see these things. You know, and I feel like that's when people say the timeline split. And timelines, basically what they are, as in like quantum physics and just time in general, it's not something that's fixed either. It's like reality, okay? Basically, every time you make a decision, it's like your fractal energy. So every time you make a decision, it's like a whole new line of potentials, or like, you know, I made a decision to drink this smoothie, and, you know, now there's a timeline that has all these different possibilities, you know, and then I make another decision and it opens another one. So when they say the timeline split, this is kind of like the
Can you stop for a second?
yeah.
Sorry.
All you gotta do is go there. Then you really realize what's going on.
I want to talk about channeling a little bit. You know, a lot of people will talk about mediumship, channeling. There's a lot of, I can't think of them all right now, but there's a lot of other terms that people use for this type of thing. And before I really started doing it myself, I had the impression from these people that were channeling And I think that these people, a lot of them believe this, that they are channeling like other beings or other, which my conception of it is that when you're channeling, really channeling, that you're accessing your higher, like infinite, like the highest self, right? And so you have access to infinite information. Now, maybe these people that are channeling other beings are, again, they're basically being able to enter from a farther angle over here that's like from a perspective of another part of themselves, right? But it's really still themselves. So we were talking about like transmuting and transcending. This is part of it. You just need to really trust and know and start really embodying that you are able to do this, okay? And don't depend on, a whole process or, there are processes that help, but like really more than anything, like get in touch with your inner source, get in touch with yourself so that you can guide yourself. What I found, last year when I moved to Costa Rica, I'm in Costa Rica, and, I moved here and I was kind of in this situation where I was like, wow, how did I get into this situation? There was a lot of good things going on, but I was like, my living situation was very strange. And I remember just feeling very frustrated and kind of scared and just kind of unsure and really uncertain about what I was going to do. And, I already knew a little bit about some of this stuff, but I was like, I'm just gonna like give it to the universe. And I was like, I'm ready to receive the answer to my problem or whatever it is. And I started channeling. I was laying down at night and I started whatever popped in my field. I wasn't thinking about it. It was just like, oh, my shoulder hurts. I'm ready to receive healing. And this, and whatever, like maybe happened during the day, some things like this is how I was like cleaning and clearing the energy and transmuting things is that I was basically, because I knew if I just like put my intention, which putting your intention means to like I'm putting my intention to do this ritual. It's like, this is my thought. You're trying to align the thought with the form. But I knew if I just put my intention into something like that it would have some weight. Now, over time, it started to morph and develop into like embodiment, which is what I would suggest that people start to do. It's way more powerful. If you embody health, if you embody radiance and love and joy, rather than just intending to have it, like literally embodying means like you go into that state of mind and you feel it. So if I'm embodying love, like I'm feeling it, like in every part of me, and that's going to radiate out because again, we're all connected. So this is really important when it comes to like transmuting or transcending, again, taking the shadow. You've heard of people talk about the shadow or the victim mind or the, negative things that pop up. You can look at them at an angle from negativity, or you can sit in the seat of being the creator. It's your choice, and it's much more fun over here, being the creator, and you have better relationships. I'm noticing just in the short amount of time that we've been like upping the last 2 weeks, because I've been doing it for like a year, the like consciously transmuting every night energy, but it's already making things in my life like so much better. I feel lighter, I feel freer, I feel more connected, I feel even things that have been in the past that I've like held on to and been like really upset about, like I feel that they're freed. Like I feel relieved. I feel like no matter what I do, like I'm on the right path. Like I know that this is, amazing. And, maybe it's not for everybody. I think that there are probably going to be some people that when they listen to this or some of our other stuff, have a hard time like coming to terms with it, because there are so many hard things, and we've all been through a lot, and suffering and the PTSD and the trauma, of humanity as a whole. So it is hard to like take that in and be like, oh wait, I created all of this. Like it's all me, you know. It is hard, so I understand. But if you can overcome that and take it in, like you feel really empowered, and everybody around you is going to feel a difference in you. So, you know, this is just something that we wanted to share, and what we're going to be doing is making some different types of videos, like we were saying with the, like, we're going to make like a terms series, so it's like we can go through different terms, because I know that there is a lot of misconceptions, and we'll probably weave those into the episodes, because we're going to be documenting and vlogging this whole journey and explaining more and more of what we're doing. You know, and let's just see what happens. You know, we're already starting to manifest or come into alignment with like our energy, you know, of how we feel. It's like things are coming together, so it's really exciting. And yeah, I hope this is helpful for you guys, and look forward to next week, and we'll be putting out some more videos.
And so when you find that out, you become full of energy and delight. And you suddenly see through the whole sham of things. You realize you're that. We won't put a name on it. You're that. And you can't be anything else.